Let me start by saying this. If any day you go out for work and you find yourself packing under some shade to rest, I don't think that day was for you. That's I don't know, your brain or your body's way of telling you that you should have been resting. Hence, I want to tell you about the 2-day formula. Let me walk you through my own experience. Now, initially when I started, I used to go to work every day, as much as I can. And the only day I try not to go was on a Sunday. Of course, I broke down. So I tried to reduce the days I went. I was trying to go, okay, let me try 5 days. That was also very exhausting. Very, very exhausting. Then I brought it down to 3 days. Even that was a struggle. I'm not even going to lie. It's a struggle. Now, the reason it's a struggle for me is because when I go to work, I hate to just close from work at the time when everybody else is closing from work. It doesn't feel like a fulfilling day for me. When I was going to work on a daily basis, say somewhere around 6, sometimes 5, I'm done, right? So I come back home and then what I have to account for it's not very much really. And well, later on, ultimately, I think this whole thing built up to a point where I realized that it was better for me to go to work either once or very few times, but then I get the most out of it rather than breaking it for many days and getting little things out of it. So this was the whole motivation or the whole inspiration for which I decided to start my 2 days in a week formula. And I have to tell you, it works very well for me. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to cut it down to once a week, just the one time in a week, and that's enough, right? All right. So the thing is this: whenever I go to work, I've spoken about this in a video before. Whenever you go to work, whenever you work, like really work hard, and when you rest hard as well. Okay? Don't do things little. I'm going to tell you this. The trick to any kind of business wherein it allows you to earn as much as you can is discipline. If you cannot bring yourself to actually regulate what you do, how you do it, you will always fail at that business. Not fail, but you will not get the most out of it. For instance, if you think that work for you is, I think maybe if I'm just going to town, maybe I can just take 1 or 2 persons, maybe, and then that's what you do. You're not going to get the most out of it. You're just going to get sustenance out of it. Let me buttress. Let me go further. If, for instance, if a person stays in, let's say, Gwagwalada. Now, if you know Abuja, you know that Gwagwalada is a very far distance from the town, right? It's like its own place. And then the person were to be coming back down to Gwagwalada. Now, randomly, a person could just decide, you know what, let me just see if I can pick 1 or 2 persons. That's not their work day, but they just, let me just see if I can just pick 1 or 2 persons, that kind of a thing. That's not bad, all right? But that's not regulation either. How do I put this? I'm trying to say something here, but I'm not trying to undermine anything at the same time. In that you could do that, that's fine. But if you have a very strict rule about your work life, you will make the most out of it. If you say Wednesdays are my work days, Wednesdays are your work days. Not Thursday, not Friday. Any other customer could call you on a Thursday or a Friday and they wouldn't even get you on the phone. Okay, maybe they'll get you, but then you're like, I will not make compromise. It doesn't matter how good a relationship we have. Thursdays and Fridays are not my day. I'm not stepping an inch outside my house, or I'm not doing anything work related. That discipline is what I'm talking about, wherein you really commit and then you commit. When you say Tuesdays is the day I go out, Tuesday is the day anybody who wants that sort of business can get you. This is what it helps you with, all right? Now, in a previous video, I'd already told you about how that having stable customers might not be the best in this line of work, all right? You need fluidness. You need you need to go out there and hope for the best. You don't need to commit to a person. Like if you met a customer on while at work and then the person wants to take you here and several places, that's fine. But you don't need somebody calling you at a time that's not convenient for you to come do something for them and hope that they will pay you so much money and all of that. That's nonsense. That's bullshit. It's bound to fail. It will go on for maybe a week or two, but at some point the person will disappoint because even they feel like, I'm your customer, you're supposed to give me discount or whatever. It is bound to fail. This is why the 2 days formula is great. And I'm going to say this and give you my numbers as well. I don't feel very comfortable doing this, but whatever. If it helps some people, perhaps. I'm not Jesus, by the way. I'm not trying to help, but I'm just saying. Okay. So I'm going to give you my numbers like for the 2 days formula that I use. Perhaps it's something you could try too. Now, for a person who is earning, or rather who is trying to deliver, who is on a car rental basis or on a hire purchase basis, like the car you're using is not necessarily yours and so you have to pay back. Okay? Here is something you could do if you use the 2 days formula. Now for me, my best days are Sundays. If you go to church on Sunday, you can get started after church. That's for you. My best days are Sundays, but I start my Sundays really early. Not so early. Let's say on an average, I would say 8 a.m. Mostly I try to leave at 7, but let's say 8, okay? Because I try to catch up with those people who are trying to get to one program or the other in the morning. Then I don't work 12 hours on the Sundays. When I go out from 7 a.m., I work till around 11 p.m. So that's maybe 4 hours more than 12 hours that is recommended by the app. But the only reason I can do that, the only reason I'm able to do that is because I've had ample time to rest. You cannot do it if you have not rested. It doesn't matter how money crazed you are. It doesn't matter how hardworking you are. Your body has got a limit. All right? It's not some kind of athletic sport wherein you just keep going and never stop until, push yourself hard. No. Your body has a limit. Your body has a limit. And so in order to walk past 12 hours and keep going, you really need to have rested well enough. So my best days are Sundays. Now I'm going to tell you this. This is a peak season. So the highest number I've ever gotten on a Sunday is 79,000. This is gross profit, by the way. 79,000 in one day. This is gross profit. Gross profit means I have not taken away my expenses. All right, so after expenses, and the only expense I'm taking out is fuel, not commission, because I try to go offline as much as I can. Unless on Uber, I don't go on offline trips on Uber because there is some kind of promotion going on and It's very easy to get it, so I do all my trips on Uber online. But typically speaking, I don't include commission in that calculation. All right. If I don't know if you also have that offer on Uber wherein you drive 10 trips and then you get 3,000, and then for any other 2 trips you get $1,000 extra and all that. So I use that a lot, to my advantage. So I kind of use that to cancel out most of the commission payments. So whatever will be left might be little to nothing, and then there are some car trips that just you get. So there is no calculation of commission here. It's just fuel. Another very important thing, the amount of fuel I use in my vehicle, no less than 20,000 before I start the work. Nothing less than 20,000. At one time, I actually did 25,000. You know what? Let me put it at 25,000 for easier calculation. I could go the whole day with a 25,000 worth of fuel, and by the time I'm done, that's when the fuel will probably be in reserve, or it's way below reserve. Okay. So now, if you take out 25 from, I believe I said my highest number was 79. Let's say 80 for easy calculation. Okay, if you take out 25, that means I'm still left with around 55, right? 560, yeah. So 55 was my net earning for a day. I think it's pretty good, rather than having to go out and then get, I don't know how much you make, maybe 15,000 today, 12,000 tomorrow, because you're doing all this 6 to 6 kind of work. That's bullshit. That's nonsense, especially on a weekday. And it's terrible on a weekday because of the traffic and the slow movement of vehicles and all of that. But on a weekday, on a weekend, that's on a Sunday, it's just free flowing, man. So that's what you have for the weekend. That's on a Sunday. All right. Gross around 55. Okay. If I'm calculating fuel as 25. All right. So on a weekday, the other day I work is Wednesday, either Wednesday or Thursday. I just pick up one more day within the week to work, but always leave myself ample time to rest before the Sunday work, because I know I really go very hard on that day. On a weekday, it's usually maybe Wednesday or Thursday. Now, I don't work as long as I do on the weekend. Why? Because a weekday does not have a lot of movement of people after certain time or after certain hours of the day. For instance, after 10 p.m., movement is really, really drastically reduced. Like almost everybody is at home and in bed, maybe. But that's unlike the weekend. On the weekend, even till 12, some people are still moving from pillar to post. So the weekday is not as proficient. Okay. So let's say I use like 20,000 fuel on the weekday, an average of, or gross rather, of let's say 40, 45, right? So that ultimately you can account for a net of, let's say, 25 for a weekday. 25 for a weekday. Okay. Now, that being the case, if you were having a car on rental or something like that, you have to pay back something every week. If you work, I don't know how much it is you might be paying, but let me say 30, maybe 40. 40. Let's use 40. That's ridiculous, by the way, but let's say 40. If you have to pay back 40, I think, let's say, one of these days you should be able to reach your target, especially on the weekend, and then thereafter all you have is for you. But then you have that for you, and then you also have ample time for rest and also free time to develop yourself or other things that you might be working on. Okay, you can't commit to going to work every single day and think that you will have some. There is no growth to the business. It's what I've always keep trying to say. There's no growth, there's no promotion, there's no like next year maybe I'll be earning more. No, there's nothing like that. If you cannot promote yourself, if you cannot work on yourself, if you cannot improve your lifestyle, then there's nothing that Bolt or Uber can do for you. So you have to do it yourself. Alright, so those are my numbers, and I hope that it kind of helps you to realize that always going day after day and then end up resting by the roadside for most part of your day is very pointless. You could actually use that time to be at home and actually maybe, if you're a musician, work on your music. If you're a graphics designer, work on that. Anything else that you might be into, please work on that, work on yourself. If not for anything, rest. Okay, the brain is not rested, it cannot produce, it cannot be industrious. All right, so that's the formula. I hope you've learned something. Perhaps try it for a week or two and see how it goes. Okay, and please, just to add this, January is going to be dry, so you better plan ahead for that. I should have started with this. Plan ahead. It's going to be dry a little bit, because everything becomes slow after the festive season, but it's going to pick up, so not for too long. All right? Okay, bye-bye.